I the a-hole for not waiting and reporting my brother and his fiancée for taking my ring? I, male 26, been planning on proposing to my girlfriend of 3 years who just graduated college. She studied overseas and is returning home soon. We both came from the same town, so our families know each other too well. I work in construction. It's a very demanding job, but I was able to save up for new furniture. I still pay rent. And I was so happy to afford the ring I was planning to propose to my girlfriend with. I paid $3,000, and my girlfriend didn't pressure me to pay that much, but I really think she deserves nothing less. My brother saw the ring and liked it. Even said that he'd proposed to his girlfriend with a similar ring, but complained he didn't have $3,000. I told him about less expensive rings that were just as nice, but he constantly kept holding it and looking at it. A week ago, I got home from work and discovered the ring was not in my room. My brother said he borrowed it to show it to his girlfriend, but forgot to bring it back. Turned out he proposed with it. I went off on him and told him to go get it back. He wanted me to chill, but I called his girlfriend's number and all calls were directed back to him. I called my parents, but they wanted to stay out of it. I told my brother to give it back the same day, and he begged me to give him 2 days so he could get a similar, but cheaper one, sort of like copy it, so his now fiancé won't notice. For days he kept stalling, saying tomorrow, no the day after, no the day after. I finally took a stand and told him I'd call the police, and I did. He wasn't with his fiancée when the police showed up, and his fiancée called him from the station when he was at my parents' house. He and my parents started cussing me out when I came. And my parents freaked out when I told my brother he needed to go to the station, or the police would come get him. He cussed me out for getting his fiancée involved, and said that I'm not a man to do this to a woman. But I told him the ring was in her possession, and that it's his fault his fiancée was involved. I got kicked out of my parents' house after a huge argument, and I got nasty texts from my mom when the police kept my brother at the station for 2 nights. She guilted me about what happened to my brother, and said I went too far. My dad helped get him out, and I got the ring back. Now, more of my family heard of what happened, and only few took my side, while others repeated my parents' statements saying I should have never done that, because he had other ways, but I went too far. What's worse is that my girlfriend criticized me as well, and said that I caused a lasting issue in our relationship with my brother and his fiancée, and I haven't seen my mom after this. Usually she's supportive of me, so this got me worried. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Yo, what did I just read? Your brother stole and proposed with an engagement ring you bought, and your family's mad at you? Nah bro, ain't nobody need family like that. Not the a-hole. Edited to add. I just want to share, like so many others, my mother did this exact same thing. I once texted her because I needed her to talk to my sister about something incredibly important, and she just didn't answer. My mother said, stop texting me about your sisters. I'm not getting in the middle of it. I kid you not. Less than 5 minutes later, I get a text from my sister saying it's not her problem, and parroting what I told my mom. I called mother out on it, and this psycho said I didn't get in the middle of it. It's not my fault she was sitting here while I read a text out loud. I haven't gone home in 7 years, and man, I'm so much happier. For real, my heart breaks for Opie. Family can be challenging, but this is next level gaslighting and messed up. Good luck, Opie. Honestly, I feel so sorry for the brother's girlfriend too. Her fiancé proposed to her with a ring stolen from his brother and refused to give it back even after he was threatened with the police, resulting in her being picked up and held at the station. I can't even imagine how humiliating that must have been. The only silver lining is that she found out he's a gigantic a-hole before the wedding. Not an a-hole. Your brother stole an item worth over $3,000. While I would never put my sister in jail personally, my sister would also never put me in a position where I'd have to consider it. Screw your family. Maybe even the girlfriend too. That family's bat crap if they think everything is Opie's fault. That's the part I'm stuck on. He tried to talk to fiancé. She wouldn't respond and brother wouldn't do anything. What was his option that this girlfriend suggests? Legit, he was in a no-win situation, and that is over felony theft, greater than $500 US. Legit, Opie. If your girlfriend is against you, and there's no easy way to say this, you may have picked out a significant other unconsciously, because she exhibits the same toxic traits as your family that you are used to. Not day-ho. Everyone is missing or skipping that you were the victim of a felony theft. Let things settle with your family. As for your girlfriend, she might prefer another ring, and your jeweler might exchange it for a fee. Your relationship with your brother is damaged because he committed a serious crime against you. If he doesn't face consequences for it, this is likely to happen again. You cannot be close with a thief. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my dad's wife bridal shopping because of conflict with her and my mom? I have an idea where this might go, but I wanted to ask. My parents divorced when I, 26 female, was 8. I'm the youngest of 3, 2 older brothers, and pretty much from day one, we knew our dad left our mom for another woman, and that the other woman was the person we were staying with when we saw our dad. There was always tension between our mom and them, and we always chose our mom. Our relationship with our dad was impacted by his decision to leave our mom for another woman, and for throwing us into a situation like that immediately. Knowing our family was broken sucked, and then we were supposed to give this new chick a chance knowing what we knew? In the fight, we have always sided with mom. Not that we were asked to, but we would prefer to just keep things separate where possible, or not include at all. I'm getting married. Booked an appointment at a bridal boutique and invited my mom, brother's girlfriends, and my future mother-in-law and sister-in-laws. Dad and his wife found out about it and are pissed I didn't invite her. She said she expected to be included after 18 years as my stepmom and my dad's significant other. Dad said he wanted us to let go of the past and treat them as family of equal worth to mom. I said I didn't want her there, and it should be my choice as the person getting married. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I just tell her sweetly that you think it's a bad omen to have someone there who has such little respect for marriage vows that should sleep with a married man, and that she's lucky that she and your adulterer father are allowed at the wedding at all. But I'm mean. Boom! This is the way. Not the a-hole. 100% agree. OP is going to need to carry some ice upon delivery of this burn. Not the a-hole. If you don't have much of a relationship with her, why does she need to be there? Simply serving time as a stepmother doesn't actually make her a stepmother, or someone you want or need there on a special day. Use COVID. Oh, sorry, we can only have 4 guests at the bridal salon. Exactly. It sounds like OP and stepmom have no relationship, except the fact she's OP's father's wife. OP shouldn't be forced to pretend it's something that doesn't exist. OP is not an a-hole. Agreed. Also, if your mom knows your dad left her for that woman, and that is awkward, I think giving your mom that respect of not including your stepmom is fine. Maybe to appease your dad, once you pick your dress, go to the salon with your stepmom, try on the dress for her, and have lunch or something after. But if the relationship isn't there, it's not something either of them should be sweating. They have to have some empathy towards the original situation of how they got together and how that could be awkward for you and your mom. Yeah, the stepmom has been in your life for 18 years, but your mom has been there since the beginning, and you have the relationship with her, not the stepmom. Not the a-hole. I personally wouldn't want a homewrecker at my wedding, let alone weighing in on what dress I'm going to wear. Dad, she's not invited to this bridal shopping thing, and that's final. I'm already inviting her to the wedding itself, despite the fact that I feel uncomfortable about it because mom will be there. If she can't appreciate that, then I'm afraid she'll just have to live with it. And if you or her push it any further, you'll find yourselves, uninvited to my wedding. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my bridesmaid for my wedding after her husband was disrespectful? I, 24 female, went out for drinks with 2 other couples, 24 to 26. One married, the other in a relationship. Unfortunately, my fiancé couldn't make it due to work commitments. My best friend and bridesmaid Eve's husband, Matt, made everyone uncomfortable all night, suggesting me and his wife's other friend, Larry, be intimate together with him in front of his wife, and describing to me in detail what he wanted to do in bed to Larry's girlfriend's sister, Kate. Later in the night, he told me I was settling for my fiancé, was clearly unhappy, and shouldn't just marry him because I had his child. He said a similar thing to Larry's girlfriend, and they actually ended up splitting up after this. I left shortly after, and after speaking to my fiancé, who considered Matt a friend, he doesn't want him at our wedding. Understandable, considering he proposed to be intimate with the bride, and also told her not to settle for the groom. So I had an awkward phone call with Eve ahead of me. I then heard from Larry that he took it a step further that night. He cornered Kate outside the bathroom at the bar and told her to her face the explicit things he wanted to do to her, including getting his friends involved. Once I heard this, I knew I had to tell her, which I did. It was awful, and we both cried, but she said she was grateful to me for telling her. 10 minutes later, me and Larry get an apology call from Matt, which was him claiming he was blackout drunk. Couldn't remember anything from getting a taxi, despite him cornering Kate being before this, and is sorry if he said/did those things, taking no actual responsibility. Next day, Eve says it's all fine, and is sorry and said he won't do it again, so she forgives him. Fine, her marriage, her choice, even if this is the third time he's done something like this. I thought it was sorted, but a week later, she messages me to ask if Matt is 100% not invited to the wedding. I reply 100%. All of a sudden, I get a barrage of, "I can't believe you do this. He's my husband. You're my best friend. You can't make me choose. I would always choose my husband." There's going to be so much tension from now on. If you claim you've never said anything you regret whilst drunk, you're lying. It gets to a point where I've told her not to come either, losing a bridesmaid and a friend in the process. I didn't want her to choose. I just didn't want him at my wedding. Am I the a-hole? Edit. When I first told her what he'd done/said, she told me she understood us not wanting him there and that she would still be attending. She then went back on this nearly a week after. Now for the top comments. Just to repeat, sorry, see it this way. Due to Matt's repeated inappropriate behavior, neither I nor my fiancé are comfortable with his presence at our wedding. It has nothing to do with you, and I'm sorry you're caught in the middle. It didn't have to mean you had to cut her as a bridesmaid, but if she continued stirring up drama, then you know best. Not the a-hole. Unfortunately, I said this multiple times. She kept saying he'd done nothing wrong and apologized, and refused to accept that he couldn't come. She turned me into the bad guy, and that's when I had enough. Yep, justified and necessary. It's on her. Not the a-hole. A wedding is supposed to be a time of joy and good vibes, and this guy Matt is probably going to get blackout drunk and try this on others. It's unfortunate that you are losing your best friend in the fallout, but that's on her. Thank you. Part of me worries that I was too excessive in uninviting her too, but I was just worried she'd sulk or cause a scene at either the Hindu or wedding. If she brought it up and tried to fight it just a week later, I doubt she wouldn't bring it up again. Not the a-hole. Honestly, he sounds like a predator. I can't wrap my mind around how she's okay with all of that. It's really sad. You don't think he's abusive towards her, do you? I'm not saying he is, but just the way she sees nothing wrong with everything he said just bothers me. I'm sorry you're going through this, though. Losing a friend, especially over something like this, sucks. I hope everything works out for you. I definitely don't think there's mistreatment. I think he's just played the victim each time, and she cares a lot about what others think of her. She has said previously when I've confronted her about his behavior that she doesn't want to be that divorcee at 24. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not supporting my brother's engagement? Hello all, this is my first post here, and I need an outside opinion. My brother 26 has never had great luck in the dating scene. He tends to only date women who treat him like garbage. In 2020, he met a girl online and she was definitely not his type, and he even said himself he wasn't attracted to her. They dated for about 3 months and he decides to ask her to marry him. She accepted, and they got engaged. About 1 month in, they have a big fight and break up. I was very supportive of him, even though it was clear it wouldn't last. Come to find out, she had a substance dependency and was only using him for his money. He looked over all her flaws and knew that she was taking his money, but he insisted she was the one. Fast forward to 2021, back in April, he meets a new girl, 21. She is admittedly a much better partner than his last, but still a very new relationship. She still lives at home and has been severely sheltered her entire life by super fundamentalist Christian parents. We are Christian as well, but like the cool Christians, lol. So yesterday, He announced that they got engaged. Needless to say, I was shocked. I have only met her once, and I have never heard her speak. He doesn't act like his true self around her. Tries to put on a glossy sheen, and of course she thinks he is perfect. When I found out, I approached him and said, "Why don't you wait longer? You don't really even know each other yet." He has never been in a long-term relationship, and neither has she. I got married on my 1-year anniversary, and if I'm being honest, I think we should have waited longer. We are 5 years in, and we feel we are just hitting our stride. I told him about my experience and what my wife and I went through. That was met with a massive, "Why can't you just be supportive and happy for me?" That's what a good brother would do. I then brought up my concerns to my parents, and their response was, "In this family, we support each other's decisions no matter what." I then said, "I have to blindly support every single decision every family member makes, even if that decision could possibly hurt them in the long run? I feel it is more loving, and it would be better to say, 'Hey, I know you really want this. I want that for you too. But I really don't think this is a good idea, and I love you enough to tell you this.' Am I the a-hole for not blindly supporting his decisions? Not the a-hole, but you will be if you keep pressing. You have given him good advice, and he is a grown man who can take it in or reject it. You have only met her once, and if you never even heard her speak, then your brother likely thinks your opinion of her doesn't hold much weight. Maybe you should try to get to know her better before discussing this further with him." Not the a-hole. Tough love over blind support, always. I lost a relationship with my sister for basically this exact thing. Long story. Turns out she's a narcissist, so she treats me disgustingly for years as punishment for sharing my concern with her that one time. Even if their relationship progressed swimmingly, it didn't. I wouldn't change my stance in a do-over. It's the principle. Not the a-hole. But please encourage them to do premarital counseling with a licensed professional. Not someone from the soon-to-be wife's church. Some of the crap that religious leaders say in premarital counseling is appalling. Not the a-hole. Too many people feel that family means you blindly have to support every stupid thing they do. I think you've said your piece. You're not going to change anyone's minds. But it's not your fault if your brother's relationship crashes and burns. He is making his bed, and he'll have to lay in it.
Am I the a-hole for calling out my dad's abuse in front of the entire family? Last weekend, my husband, 36 male, and I, 35 female, took our daughters, 5 and 14, to a family barbecue. The people there were my aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, and all the children on my mom's and dad's side. This barbecue is very important in my family, as it's the only time both sides of our family are together. It is also the only time I see my immediate family. Growing up, my dad was verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive to me and my siblings. And as the oldest, I often took the worst of it. My mom was never abused by him and accused us of lying. This dynamic led to a bad relationship with my parents now. I only stay in contact for my mother's sake, and because they had another kid who is still a minor, and I want to have a relationship with her. When we arrived at the barbecue, my dad immediately started ordering me around and being generally rude. I just avoided him because I didn't want to ruin the gathering. About 2 hours in, a group of us decided to leave and catch up, leaving all the kids with the grandparents and great-grandparents. I was originally excited to go, but after learning my 2 kids would be left in my father's care, I declined. My dad started blowing up and accused me of hating him. I told him I would never leave my kids alone with him after how he treated me growing up. He said I was exaggerating and he never really hurt me. Then he added that he was technically only watching one of my kids because my husband and I adopted my 14-year-old daughter when she was 13. That's when I snapped. All the years of anger and hurt and everything he did poured out of me in front of my entire family. I listed out everything he did, from pushing me so hard into the wall I got a concussion, to twisting my brother's arm so hard it broke. By the end, a silence fell over my family. The joy was gone. Everyone stared at my dad in horror. I packed up and left with my husband and kids. It's been almost a week. My dad and mom are blowing up my phone, saying I scared my 15-year-old sister, and I'm a horrible person for telling everyone that it should have stayed private. Almost half of my family has cut him off, and I've received a lot of support. But I feel terrible. I might have put my mom and sister at more risk of being abused, and I'm no longer allowed to be in communication with either of them. My family is divided now. My kids are scared of their grandparents, which breaks my heart. Even some of my siblings think I took it too far. So, am I the a-hole for telling my entire family about my dad's abuse? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Abusers deserve verbal abuse at a minimum and in public. Sometimes keeping this stuff a secret is what emboldened them. My dad was old school, spare the rod type. Not really abusive, just could be mean and scary when my older sister and I fought, which we did a lot of. One Sunday, sis tripped me, which was nothing new. But when I fell, I broke something that was my dad's. He didn't believe me that sis had tripped me on purpose and slapped me. I went to church with a big red welt on my cheek. People noticed and asked. I just said dad slapped me and walked off. He never hit me again. I'm sure he heard all about it from his church buddies. If he wanted you to tell people good things about him, he should have treated you better. Not the a-hole. Simple. You're only saying what happened. Abusers deserve nothing good, I must say. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You did what needed to be done. And if your kids are scared of their grandparents, that is good. It means that they realize that their maternal grandfather is not to be trusted. Also, he is an a-hole for what he said about your daughter. Let it all burn down. Your silence protected him for way too long. Imagine if he had hurt one of your kids. Maybe think about blocking both of your parents. Better blocked than abusive. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being so against making my siblings packed lunch for school that I won't make mine anymore? I, 16 male, got so sick of the lunches at school in the last year. They're trash and nothing ever tastes good. Nothing's all that healthy either. So back in December, I decided that after Christmas, I'd make my own packed lunch in the mornings. My parents were cool with it at first, and my dad thought it was good for me, because he and mom only have basic cooking and meal prep skills, so he was happy to see someone in the household do stuff. I ended up with a really nice rotation of lunches. In April, my mom told me I should make lunch for my siblings too, 14, 13, and 11. I told her that was not happening, and she should encourage them to make their own if they want something else. Mom told me it wasn't a big ask, and my siblings deserved better food too. I told her they deserved better from her then, but not me. The reason I was so against this is my siblings have no boundaries where I'm concerned. They think they can take my stuff, come into my room without knocking or asking. They can demand I walk them to friends' houses when mom and dad are busy, and so many other annoying things. It's not like the worst thing ever, but it means I don't want to do stuff for them. My dad acknowledges and works on his stuff with my siblings, and he's punished them for taking stuff from me before. But my mom always dismisses it as oldest kid problems. She's the youngest in her family. Me and mom argued about it for weeks. Dad told her to stop putting it on me, and he pointed out my siblings don't complain about the lunches. Mom said it wasn't even the point, and she was mad Dad didn't back her up, but also that I was digging in my heels so much, and wouldn't listen to her as my mom. She said it was a respect thing. Dad got mom to back off for maybe 2 weeks, but once school was out for summer, she was telling me starting when school returns in August, I better be prepared to make lunch for everyone. I told her it wasn't happening and she needed to accept it. She told me I couldn't use food purchased for the household if I'm going to be this selfish. I told her that was fine. I just won't make my lunch anymore, and I'll go back to trash my school serves. Mom expected me to give in and make lunch for everyone, and she called me a spoiled child for going this far with it. I told her I didn't care, and she was not making me give in. Dad told me I could carry on making my lunches, but it led to another fight between him and mom saying I was behaving like his selfish brat, and they raised me better than that. Am I the a-hole? Your mom is an a-hole and abusive AF. Don't make lunch, and ask your dad for a lock for your room. Also, tell your mom you don't see a problem with this because as the youngest you got what you wanted, but your siblings hated you because you were a spoiled, entitled brat. Something you want to try to turn my siblings into, not the a-hole. It's not so far off. My mom doesn't have a good relationship with her siblings, and she's very spoiled and entitled and demanding in general. Lost her best friend last year over a birthday dinner. Not the a-hole. And I don't understand why your mom won't make the lunches. Because she doesn't want to, so she expects me to do it instead. That way, she still saves on the cost of school lunches, but doesn't have to do the work. So your mom is just lazy. Got it. You're in no way the a-hole. Your mom really sucks. My mom did basically the same thing. If I made something for my lunch, she demanded I share it with my brother. If I added something I liked but he didn't, she demanded I stop adding that ingredient. When I said he needed to make his own food, she said I'd already made enough to share if I wasn't being greedy. So I stopped making my lunches. When my brother complained about that too, he was actually complaining. I just told mom I felt like PBJs today, and I wasn't planning on making more than I was going to eat, so he was welcome to make his own. She couldn't really complain because he'd made plenty of PBJs and had no excuse to demand I make them for him. I never made lunch again until I moved out. Sounds like your mother was spoiled as the youngest, often got her way, and still has the same entitled mentality. Not surprised that your mom and her siblings aren't close. I didn't speak to my brother for decades until we met up for Nana's funeral. Marriage and kids had mellowed him, and while I wouldn't say we're friends, we're not at each other's throats either. Nor do we really keep in touch. There's just too much time and distance, and we don't really know each other now. Not the a-hole. All your mom is going to do is make you resent both her and your siblings, want to get out as soon as you can, and enable your siblings to grow up entitled. Next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening to call the cops on my brother's admirer and calling her a disgusting creep, making her cry? I, 19 female, have a younger brother, Caden, 16 male. Caden had to change schools at the start of the second semester due to health reasons. During that time, he caught the attention of a girl I'll call Abby, 17 female. They had a few classes together, but she grew infatuated quickly. She would cling to him, gift him snacks, etc. At first, it seemed completely harmless, and even my brother was cool with it, despite him only seeing her as a friend at the time. But later, she started to exhibit a few concerning behavior traits. She would lash out at him if he didn't respond right away to texts, and she would show aggressive signs of jealousy if he hung out with other girls as just friends. He did try to let her down easily, and even though she claimed to have accepted it, she continued the behavior. But it got worse after school let out. She started leaving gifts at our doorstep, even though none of us, including Caden, ever gave her our address. Sometimes I'd catch her parked a few houses away in the evening when I went out jogging. Our parents ignored this because they thought it was cute or just a coincidence, but Caden stopped going out with his friends as much and vented to me about feeling uncomfortable with how Abby was acting. So I encouraged him to try setting boundaries with her. She ended up screaming at him over the phone when he tried, calling him gay and numerous insults before he blocked her. Not only did she continue parking nearby, but she went as far as to try spreading a rumor online that Caden gave her an STD. I was livid when I learned about the last part, so the next time she parked nearby, I confronted her. I can't detail everything I said because I was seeing red, but I ended by saying she was a disgusting creep, especially for acting this way towards someone younger than her, and I threatened to call the cops if she didn't leave Caden alone. She cried and called me a non-sympathetic a-hole before driving off. I came home and my parents knew something was up, so I told them what happened. Instead of being concerned for Caden, they got annoyed and called me dramatic for intervening with typical teenage drama. I talked to Caden later and he was thankful. Abby also took down the rumor posts later. But since then, I've gotten a few DMs from people who claim to know both of them, saying I was overreacting and being too overprotective of my brother because guys like the attention. I don't really care what they think as long as my brother is safe, but I guess I'm curious to know if I could have handled things differently, since I keep getting DMs about it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. This girl's behavior is unhealthy and stalkerish. This is not typical teenage drama at all. Please visit us on the stalking board for info, and please contact your nearest DV center for free info on healthy teen relationships and how to deal with behavior like this. Your parents do need to take this seriously. Please report all this to your school and the girl's parents. They should file a police report in case this escalates. Stay safe. Hopefully, the humiliation and/or the fear of having the cops called on her will stop her. But she already claimed that the brother gave her an STD. The next step is to claim he SA'd her. Not the a-hole. Don't act creepy if you don't want to be called creepy. And every single person who said guys like the attention is also creepy. Just really disturbing, and I'd maybe let your brother know who it is who has that attitude, because they'll be the ones encouraging or even assisting in the stalker's behavior if it continues. Encourage your parents to take this seriously. Coming from another parent, there are certain things we need to be able to recognize as dangerous enough that our kids can't and shouldn't be made to handle them on their own. This is one of those times. Thank you for protecting your brother when other people wouldn't. It will mean so much to him growing up, knowing someone has his back. Not the a-hole. Your parents are completely oblivious. This isn't cute, nor is it a teenage drama. If they don't do anything about it, tragedy will happen, and they won't be able to say they weren't warned. What if someone decided to get revenge on this girl for having an STI by hurting your brother? What if she were to physically attack him after she broke down? Please, take the necessary measures. Call the police yourself for information, and you and your brother should keep every piece of evidence this girl sends him. Take photos of her in her car and note down the date and time. Last story. My wife listened to my call with my therapist and is upset with what she heard. Am I the a-hole? I have a call with my therapist every Friday. My wife works from home. Last Friday, my wife and I were arguing. We haven't been getting along recently. I had my call with my therapist, and my wife stormed into the room once the call was done saying I was a liar, and she would never talk about me the way I talked about her. We completely separated for the weekend, but have since resolved. Over the weekend, I soundproofed my office to prevent this in the future. Today after my call, my wife is visibly upset. I ask her what's wrong, and she said the thought of me being on a call with my therapist rekindled her feelings from last week, despite not being able to hear me. I told her she was the one that listened into my private call with my therapist, and she was not supposed to hear any of what I said. She said she couldn't do anything not to hear it, even though she could have sent me a text saying, "I can hear you." I don't know what I could have done. I was having a private conversation, and my wife listened in. She claimed she's never been able to hear me before, but somehow this week she could hear me. Am I the a-hole for blaming her and saying she did it to herself? In my opinion, I was venting to my therapist and not watching what I was saying, nor should I have to. My wife had the option to tell me she could hear me, but did not. She went outside for part of the call, but not after she listened in enough to have her feelings hurt. Okay, damn, you're right. She did do it to herself. I don't know what you discussed, but therapy is supposed to be a safe space, which she violated, let alone be mad about what she heard. Try to explain that. I mean, therapy helps with how we see things. If you're venting because of whatever reason, the point of therapy is to help you deal with that information and process it. Sometimes it changes the way you see things and get a different perspective. Others, it reinforces what you felt. I hope you guys can sort it out, but please tell her to respect your boundaries. I have tried to explain that, but she takes it as just another thing I say she does wrong. I'm not even as upset that she listened as I could be. To me, that's a huge violation of privacy. But from how upset she was, I tried to look past that part, but I refused to take blame for it. If I listened in on my husband's therapy appointments, I'm sure I'd get hurt too, because we are both flawed humans, and facing those flaws is hard. But I'd never do that. That's such a violation of privacy. When we have telehealth appointments, we swap taking the kiddo outside to play, so no accidental overhearing happens. Also, I feel like there is a possible legal issue here. My therapist always asks if I'm sure I'm in a confidential area, like it's a big point she makes. Not the a-hole. That's what I told her. If I listened to her therapy session, my feelings would likely also get hurt. Therapy is supposed to be a private, relieving process. When my husband is in therapy, I do everything I humanly can to avoid listening. She could have walked away. Definitely not the a-hole. Yeah, I don't even want to hear what my husband says in therapy. And honestly, if there are negative thoughts and feelings he has about me, I'd be thrilled to know he was talking about them there, because a good therapist would either help him process them and give him some perspective so they will resolve themselves, or give him tools to communicate them to me in a healthy way so that we could resolve whatever was going on together. Am I the a-hole for poking fun at my cousin's divorce after she insulted my wedding? I, 29 female, got married at 20. My husband and I were young, desperately in love, and super broke. I was never one to want a big wedding anyway, so we kept it small. I will admit, my cousin, 36 female, helped a ton with the decorations. I'm not one to be super into that stuff. I was fine with it just looking a little plain, but she wanted to make the day special for me and I appreciated it. I sang her praises the entire day, paid her for helping me after the fact, and literally made a speech the day of the wedding how grateful I was for her. I should also note she got married a few months before me in an extremely lavish, extremely expensive wedding. Her wedding day was actually perfect, and everyone still talks about it. However, she got divorced about 4 years ago. I'm unsure what has caused this, but now, anytime we are together, she makes fun of my wedding. She mocks how small it was. She mocks how corny the venue was. She insults my bridesmaids and my husband's family, and how useless they were the day of. I normally don't react because, honestly, I don't care about her opinion. However, today we are at a large Father's Day gathering with all my family. From the second she saw me, she started ragging on my wedding to her new boyfriend. I'm not sure, but something in my brain just flipped, and I said back to her, well, at least I'm still married. Everyone in my family is upset with me. They said I went below the belt with that comment, but absolutely no one has ever checked her for insulting me over and over and over. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She kept pushing, and she pushed too far. I'm unsure what has caused this. Easy. She had a lavish wedding and is now divorced. Your wedding wasn't anywhere near the scale hers was, and you're still, presumably, happily married. She's jealous, so of course instead of building herself up, it's easier to tear you down. She's an a-hole, and so is everyone else in your family. If they shut their pie holes when she was taking shots, they can keep their pie holes shut when you return fire. Here's the line. Now your cousin and family know not to cross it. Who the heck badmouthed someone's wedding? Not just that, but 9 years after the fact. Sounds like she might have narcissistic personality disorder. Rules for her aren't rules for you. She can insult you and pretend it's a joke, but you can't insult her as a joke. To answer your question, that makes her the a-hole, not you. I hope you and your husband have a wonderful marriage. Statistically, the ones that spend more on their weddings are more likely to split. That's true. In 1980, the decade of excess, a friend's daughter had a Hollywood-perfect wedding that cost an insane amount of money. The marriage was over in 4 months. Not the a-hole. This wasn't a one-off. She has been doing this for years. You needed to shut it down. My mom got divorced in the 80s. She had 7 sisters, all older. They were all still married to their spouses. They were always complaining about their spouses at gatherings when it was just us girls. Most of them had very toxic marriages. They used to demean my mom about how she couldn't keep a marriage going, broke a sacred covenant, blah blah blah. I finally lost it at a Thanksgiving dinner. Staying married to an a-hole doesn't make you a better person. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my friend's birthday party after she didn't let me in her house? I, 23 female, was invited to my friend Sasha's 23 female birthday party. It was for a Friday at 8:30 p.m. We would start at her house to pregame and then go to bars. I had worked that day from 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. but I really wanted to go. So I rushed home, ate dinner, got ready, and drove to her place. We were texting the whole day about the plans, and she seemed very excited for me to join her and her friends. I am acquainted with her friends, but not besties. I arrived at her house at 8:30 on the dot. I hung up the phone with my boyfriend and texted her to let her know I was there. She said okay, so I walked up and knocked on the door. I heard music and people talking inside, so I knew they were there. Nobody answered. I noticed she had a Ring camera, so I waved in front of it, knowing Ring notifies people's phones. Still, nobody let me in. I knocked louder and texted her that I was at the door, but I was neither let in nor texted back. I knocked even louder and started shouting, "Hey, Sasha, I'm here." I finally heard footsteps coming to the front door, but instead of letting me in, I heard the deadbolt lock click, locking me out. I walked away from the door and called my boyfriend to tell him what was going on. I told him my feelings were hurt and that I wanted to go home. He convinced me to stay and knock again, rationalizing that it was a miscommunication. I texted her again saying, "Okay, I'm out front." Sasha immediately answered, "Okay, sounds good." So I knocked again. No answer. I heard the music get turned down and Sasha say, "Guys, I think she's here." So I knocked as loud as I could and said, "Yes, I'm here. It's me." Footsteps came towards the door, and again the deadbolt sounded. The door remained locked, and the footsteps walked away. At this point, I had been knocking for 12 minutes. I was so upset and angry that I left and texted Sasha. "So I've been knocking for over 10 minutes and no one let me in, so I'm going home." She immediately called me, but I didn't answer because I was afraid I would say something out of anger that I would regret. She texted me that she looked through the peephole and did not see me. I think that's BS because she literally had a Ring camera. I told her that my feelings were hurt and I felt unwelcome. I did not receive an answer. Am I the a-hole for leaving? What could be the reasoning behind this? This sounds like they thought this would be funny, but it was instead cruel. Not the a-hole. Yeah, this is some mean girl BS. She literally didn't let you in the party. What were you supposed to do? If my friend told me she was at the door and I didn't see her, I would go outside to look for them. Not the a-hole. My advice to you is to not spend a whole lot of time thinking about this. Either they were deliberately not letting you in, or there was some sort of crossing of the wires. I don't know that it helps you to find out one way or the other. For your part, just maintain what is the true explanation. You did everything you could. All she had to do was open the door. If she's not willing to open the door and let you in, how much longer are you supposed to spend out there knocking, yelling, and texting? I tend to think that you were the victim of a prank committed by her besties. But again, I don't know that it helps you to find out one way or the other. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not reconciling with my wife's parents and her sister and kicking them out when they insulted me? My wife and I got married last year after dating for 7 years. My wife's side of family don't particularly like me, but we still got along for the sake of getting along. But a month ago, my wife and her sister had a huge argument, and my wife's parents took her sister's side. So I took my wife's and tried to calm them down, but that resulted in them directing their anger towards me. They said it's between them and I should stay out of it, but I didn't and said I'm her husband and I will defend her. We left and went no contact after they started insulting me. But today they showed up at my door, and I didn't want to, but I let them in for my wife. They kept discussing and they said they wanted to reconcile, and my wife said she will forgive but she needs time. They asked me if I am willing to reconcile with them. I replied, "Don't even think about it, and I don't even want to see their face." I told them that they should talk to their daughter and leave my home when they are done. They said that I'm talking like a child. I got angry and asked them to leave after we started arguing again. Her sister said that my wife should have a say as well. I told her to shut up and leave, and whatever decision my wife will make, she'll hear from her later. After they left, I told my wife that she should listen to me and cut this toxicity out of our life. But if she wants to reconcile with her family, I won't stop her but leave me out of this. And I don't want to talk to her family unless they change their behavior. My wife said she'll think about it, and if she reconciles with her family, she'll ask them to stay away from me. Am I the a-hole? I don't mind if they maintain their relations with my wife, but I just want to stay away from them. I won't force my wife unless it becomes too toxic for her. Not the a-hole. You really did not act like an a-hole for sticking up for your wife and then telling her toxic family where they could shove it. That's basic self-respect. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Any parents would be happy for their daughter if her husband is helping her and not tell him to stay out. I know I will. And what's the point of asking me if I want to reconcile and then insult me again and call me a child when I refused? Nah, man, you got every right to not want to talk to them again. Just 'cause your wife want to forgive, don't mean you have to. You said she can do what she wants, but you're staying out, and that's fair. If she respects you, she'll keep that boundary. Toxicity ain't family. Yeah, they don't like me and I hate them, so what's the point? My wife can forgive them and talk to them. They are her family, so it's her business. But I will advise her to stay away, but it's her decision. I won't force her. I will force her only if it gets too toxic for her or us. My wife respects that, and she keep them away from me until I forgive them. We both respect each other, come to a decision. Unless we are making a mistake, we don't intervene. I agree with you, but you and your wife need to come to some sort of an agreement before you have kids, because that will really ratchet up the conflict. You are right. When we have children, her parents might try to manipulate my wife in the name of having a relationship with their grandchildren. I didn't think about it at all, but I will now talk to my wife. If her family changes their behavior, then I will try my best as well for my wife and my kids in the future and forgive them. But if they don't change their behavior and don't respect me, then I don't know. I need to think about it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my nephew after ruining my bathroom and not bothering to clean it up? Okay, so I, 29 female, have been letting my nephew, Liam, 20 male, stay with me for the past month. He's finding himself after dropping out of college, and my sister begged me to give him a place to stay while he figures things out. I agreed, under the condition that he contributes to the household, helping with chores, buying his own food, basic stuff. Things were going okay, not great. He's a bit of a slob, always leaving his dishes in the sink, but nothing I couldn't handle. Until yesterday. I came home from work and went to use the bathroom. What I found was catastrophic. The toilet was clogged and overflowing. The floor was soaked. And there was, well, let's just say there was a lot of vomit everywhere. The smell was absolutely disgusting. I immediately started gagging and yelled for Liam. He came stumbling out of his room, looking half asleep, and I asked him what the hell happened. He mumbled something about feeling sick, and then just shrugged. He hadn't even attempted to clean it up. He just left it there. I completely lost it. I told him he needed to clean it up immediately. He started whining about how he wasn't feeling well and couldn't I just do it? That's when I told him to pack his bags and get out. I said I was done with his disrespect and lack of consideration. He got all huffy and called my sister, who then called me, screaming about how I was being unreasonable and kicking her poor baby when he was down. I held my ground and said he could come back when he apologized and cleaned the mess, but not before. So, am I the a-hole? I feel a bit bad kicking him out, but honestly, the sheer lack of responsibility and the fact that he left that mess for me to deal with was the last straw. Here's the twist though. After he left, I started cleaning up the bathroom. And that's when I found it, a small empty baggie hidden behind a toilet. It definitely looked like a drug bag. Now I'm wondering if he wasn't just feeling sick, but was high or something. That makes me even angrier. So, am I the a-hole for kicking him out, especially considering the possible drug use? Not the a-hole. Do not let him come back to move in with you. He can live with his mom. If he has drugs and they're in your house, you can be caught up in it legally. LMAO, the audacity to whine about cleaning his own vomit. Like, if you're grown enough to do drugs, you're grown enough to handle the aftermath. Your sister enabling him is why he's like this. Not the a-hole. Update your sister what you found, take a pic and do not let him back. She has to take him in. I'm actually curious why the nephew had to stay at the aunt's and not his own mom's, who seems so worried about her baby. Why did OP agree in the first place? He's not your kid, so not your responsibility. You are not that older than him. You seem a sensible and responsible person, but I think you made a mistake getting involved at all. I never babysit a full day for any of my nephews or nieces, despite the fact everyone knows I love them. It's about the fact that, am I prepared to be responsible for them doing something stupid and to get involved in the parenting? The answer is no. I want to be the cool person that they love, and not their substitute parent who they then hate if I had to yell at them. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not going to a friend's 25th birthday celebration after she left my wedding twice? A week ago, I, 25 female, married the love of my life, and we had a small ceremony with our families and close friends. For a little perspective, we had 8 guests plus the couple. The ceremony was max 45 minutes, and we only had the photographer for 2 hours. Everything was perfect. We had gone to a conservatory in the area and took pictures inside and out. 2 of our friends, Bailey, 24, and Deb, 25, started to have their own photo shoot literally in front of us. I decided to cheer, "Yes, go Deb," to which she stopped posing and said, "Damn, that's so embarrassing." We finished couple shots and saw Bailey and Deb were nowhere to be seen. All of our families and other friends were very upset that the 2 of them left, but we just played it off like it was okay, and that is just how they are. The bar after party was just our friends, and we had rented an area for 2 hours. But the catch was, we needed to hit a $200 bar tab minimum. Deb and Bailey show up late to the after party but seem happy to be there. They are talking to our other friends, and Bailey stayed to play games with us. Deb finds games embarrassing, and they are both drinking. Not a requirement for fun, but they love drinking. About a half hour into the after party, Bailey asks us what we'd be doing Friday and to not make plans because it's Deb's birthday. We had been looking to go on a trip that weekend, but it was not planned, so we said that we should be able to go. A few moments later, Deb comes back from the bar and is complaining how drinks were so expensive. A special cocktail was $12 and a draft beer was $10. A while later, my spouse wanted to get food, so we went to go look at a food truck, saw there was nothing she'd eat, and decided to get Cane's later. We see Bailey and Deb waving us down. Thinking they want food too, we tell them we aren't getting stuff here, and they tell us that a mutual friend was bartending 20 minutes away, so they were going to see her, but would meet us back at the house later. Keep in mind we live in a major city, and this friend is a bartender and has been for over a year. When we got back in the bar, one of our other friends, Kate, asked where Deb, and Bailey went because they told Kate that they'd be right back. So, of course, being confused, we checked the tab and they had closed their tab. Everyone looked at it fine, because we got to drink more and hang out longer with friends from out of town. We finished drinks around 11:30 p.m., only to get a text from Deb saying they aren't coming back to the house with everyone, they are going home. Well, my spouse and I decided to go on our last-minute little honeymoon weekend, which so happened to overlap with Deb's birthday, so we weren't able to make it. After letting Deb and Bailey know we couldn't go and why, they have basically ignored both of us and our texts. So are we a-holes for not going to Deb's birthday after they left our wedding celebration not once but twice? Now for the comments. Everyone sucks here. They weren't being good guests, but you don't sound like a great host. You should have covered the tab for the drinks after the wedding. You didn't even feed your guests. This needs to be higher. You had a wedding with 8 people. I've hosted bigger parties as a teenager and still covered the bill. Hell no. A 45-minute ceremony and you're making people buy their own drinks? You're not providing food even? Worst wedding hosts ever. You're the a-hole. Oh, and no food or plans for food. And the guests are supposed to stand around and watch the married couple get their wedding photos for God knows how long.